Hi guys, and welcome to another episode of Project Glow's Self-Love Q&A. My name is Stephanie Burton and this is Project Glow, where I teach women how to fall in love with themselves first and thereby stop over-giving, over-caring and completely and utterly forgetting about their needs. It's about putting yourself first so that you can actually be truly there for everyone else in your life. Today, as usual, I have 5 questions. And here they are, my 5 questions. They seem to be all of a equal length, so I'm just going to start at the top of the list and work myself down towards the end. If you have any questions for me while I'm doing the show, please let me know in the comments. I can see your comments and I will make sure that I will answer your question along the way. If you do have questions, or if you have friends who have questions, you can always during the week message me privately. I will answer all of your questions completely and utterly anonymously. So thank you for making the time to be here with me. I love Q&A because, well, I don't know what's in your head. I don't know what you're being challenged by, what you're struggling through. So the most beautiful part about this is if you have a question, everybody else is thinking the same as well. So please, please, please share your questions, because after the show, I always get people phoning and messaging me saying, oh my gosh, yes, I definitely wanted to ask that, but I never thought of asking it in such a way. So tonight, the first question is, hi Steph, how can I go dating without coming from a place of lack? I don't want to seem desperate, but I really, really do want to be in a relationship. But at the same time, I don't want to appear needy. This is a fantastic question. Thank you so much for asking it. So, I'm a big fan of taking time out before you actually start dating, because so many of us, especially those with anxious attachment and with belonging addiction and codependency, we jump from relationship into relationship into relationship. We never really take the time just to decompress and debrief and just come back to ourselves and really get into a space of neutral, if you like. The big problem that you have if you don't take time out, and why time out before you jump into dating after your last relationship broke up, is the number one most important thing you can possibly ever do for yourself to actually go into the dating scene from a healthy place of balance and really being yourself. So number one, I would say the most important thing to do is take time out. I certainly took quite a long time out. I made a commitment to a whole year. So you should make that time longer than comfortable. So if you're comfortable being single for 6 months, just push it out to 7, 8, 9, and 10. Because especially those of us, which are so many of us with the people that I work with who are codependents and come from anxious attachment, it's in the discomfort of being single that you actually truly and utterly find yourself. Because that's the space where you're then completely and utterly forced to really self-care, to make those decisions. What do I want to eat? Where do I want to go on holiday? What do I want to see at the movies? And so you need to take that time, not just to, stuff it full of activity because you don't want to for a single second think that you're being single, but really turn towards it and really and utterly commit to being in love and dating yourself. So number one tip is date yourself. The second thing from an inner work, and you guys know that I'm all about the inner work before you take out to action, is you need to break your addiction to relationships, love and belonging. And the way that we do that is we go look at what is the benefit and drawback of being in a relationship, what is the benefit and drawback of being single. And then we push the boat out even further and we go, okay, what if you had to be single for the rest of your life? There was never anybody else. What would still be the downsides of being single? Because as you know, what I teach with the yin and yang is that everything in life is in perfect and divine balance. And it is perfectly orchestrated for us to be grown and guided and squished between challenge and support, squished together upwards, so that you can be in that middle path, constantly moving forward towards your greatness. Because challenges and support that goes with it. So it's always like a quantum, it's always equal, and that's the thing that your brain hasn't seen yet. If you are still in an air of neediness and addiction, then what your brain has, it has a lot of evidence of why it's so amazing to be in a relationship. And it goes, yeah, being single is, it's okay, but I don't want to be single. And that's the balance that you need to readdress. Now, you may have to list 50, 100, 200 things before that thing goes into balance. And if I may add to that, it is unbelievably hard to do by yourself because your ego keeps you in a safe comfort zone. So do this exercise with a friend, with a coach, in a workshop, because the likelihood of you being able to do it by yourself are close to zero. But you must break the addiction to love, belonging, and relationships, because as long as you're addicted, you will always be on eggshells, and no matter how hard you try on the outside to keep your outside veneer together, it will exude from you, you know, kind of like one of the things that we all do when we're in a state of need is we constantly fill the conversation. It's constantly about the other person. We constantly go along with what they want. And that's not really all that attractive, is it? Really, at all. So I wrote down, take time out, and in that time, really become completely clear on who you are, what your vision and mission is as an individual, because that's usually the reason why the universe has made you single for a while, so that it says, okay, I can see that when you get into a relationship, you just give, and you completely lose yourself. So we need to break that once and for all. And I put you as an individual, yes, you are here for a very, very specific, unique reason. The universe has molded you specifically to do something, and that to do something has something to do with being completely and utterly yourself. So if you completely and utterly stop doing that when you get into relationships, of course the universe is going to say, okay, we're going to have a little bit of a time out so that you can sit down for a while and just have a really good think about who you are, just you, when there's no one around, when you can't ever, give up on yourself ever again. So take time out, get clear on who you are, and break your addiction. Fill your life up first. That's the key thing is that apart from all those wonderful dating books telling you that you need to be interesting, and really don't do it just for the sake of being interesting. Get into a place where you commit to watching all the movies that you want, going to all the restaurants that you want, taking up every hobby that you want. Let me tell you, when your social life is chock-a-block full and there's lots and lots and lots of other people to hang out with, you're going to be a whole less desperate. And my top tip when it comes to dating, never ever date just one person. And all the big gurus and teachers and people that are respected in the area of dating tell you not to date more than one person. I'm not saying acquire a harem of people. It's like dating is not about sleeping with people at all, but that's what people do who are codependent and who are people addicted and belonging addicted. We get into these situations too fast, too soon, too quick with all of ourselves, and then we wonder why the other person has to turn away because the energy is just too strong. So one of the things that you should be doing is dating a couple of people so that there's always, another option to date. And also that really breaks your pattern of giving it up all for one person too fast, too soon, too quick. So those are my 4 top tips for making sure that you are not in a state of need, but in a state of want when you go dating. Because we all know what we follow flees, and therefore if you're that person, I'm sure you've been in that bar, or you remember being in a nightclub as a young person, and there's one person that's just latching on to everyone. That is the least attractive person, and if that exudes out of you, that's not going to go down well with dating. I think the one final thing I would say to that is sometimes neediness is hooked onto you thinking you're not good enough, you thinking that if you just don't over deliver, why would that person want you? And so underneath all of that would be, of course, what I come back to again and again and again, really and completely falling in love with yourself first, really understanding, owning your own beauty, understanding your needs, know what your deal breakers, what your boundaries are. That is the process of falling in love with yourself first, is step by step by step by step, really building a queendom, a kingdom or a queendom around yourself, so that then you can then really invite the other person in to the dance of relationship, rather than running after them and going, please, 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 will you be in a relationship with me? So I hope that answers your question. Thank you. Great, great question. If you've just joined me now, if you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. I can see you and I will answer them as I go along. So let's go on to the second question, which is, how do I quiet myself down? How do I shut down self-doubt? How do I shut down self-doubt before it spirals out of control? All right, self-doubt, big topic. Okay, so first of all, let's come back to the yin and yang, the light and the dark of who you are. You are made up of equal light and equal dark. That means that all day long, actually, just under the radar of your consciousness, you will have millions and millions of thoughts all day long that will go equal, man, you're great at this, and oh my God, you're crap at this. Oh my God, you're good at this. Oh my God, you're crap at this. It's like the peanut gallery. When we start and focusing on one area of self-doubt, that's like you taking a magnifying glass onto that one thought and then latching onto that thought, where actually thoughts are like clouds. They can't really stay in your mind unless you choose to recycle them like a washing machine. So your mind is like lots of bubbles, lots of clouds all day long. You're going, I'm good at this, I'm bad at this, I'm good at this, I'm good at this. One of the problems with saying, how can I shut down self-doubt is don't latch onto it in the first place and make it such a big deal. Because if you're really honest about it, and I know many of you will say, oh no, I don't have any self-building thoughts in my head. I guarantee you do. Because the universe never does anything ever out of balance. You just don't want to admit to the things that under the radar you think you're absolutely dang hot at. So really, the first exercise you need to do is write down a list of all the things you're really amazing at, in your opinion, and all the things that you're really crap at. And do not tell me that there is nothing on your really good list, because then your brain is playing some kind of a different game with you. Either you've been culturally taught that it's not acceptable to like yourself, or your brain is gaining something out of playing the poor me, oh woe victim. Because guess what? Sympathy is a great way to getting attention from human beings. And if that is the only way in your brain, in your programming, that you think you can get attention, this is one of the number one reasons why your brain doesn't want to list the things that you think you're really good at, is because somewhere in your programming, your brain thinks that it is more socially acceptable to be in a state of self-doubt and be in a state of victim, because somehow in your childhood programming, that's the lay of the land. It said being in your strength was not safe, being proud of who you are isn't strength. The truth is that even when you have gone through every type of self-love program, you are still going to have self-doubt. But the point here is you don't make self-doubt the star of the show. You can just see that it is just another character in a whole, in a whole cast of characters all day long telling you that you're good and you're bad at this thing. That's, if I could give you an insight into my head today, I had a perfect example. There's something I really, really messed up. Now, years and years before, what would have probably happened is I would have latched onto that one thought and ridden it out until there was nothing left in it. Now, I don't squash my anger. I let it rise up and then I go, you know what? I'm totally okay with it. I'm going to have a boatload of compassion, but I'm not going to suppress it because I know I'm really good at this, and I know I'm really crap at this. But that doesn't matter because actually I'm just in a learning curve. I can't know everything, and actually I did the best that I could, and I also make mistakes. So it's about having self-compassion in first line. Have compassion for your feelings, don't shut them down. But then in second line go, is that really the only part of your story? That you're really shit at this and this and this and this and this and this? Because you're not. You're equally good at this and you're equally not so good at that. I'm just going to switch off something here because the light is, the light is messing with us. So let's get it. Some better light into the situation. There we go. I hope you can still see me. Otherwise, I need to put up there we go. All right. So let's just go with that further. Self-doubt. The first thing, light and dark, equal light and dark. You are always self-doubting and self-aggrandizing yourself equally. It's just you don't like to admit to the parts that you think you're good at because somewhere in your programming you were told that this is not a good idea. The second is you need to understand the nature of your thoughts. The nature of your thoughts is that they're like bubbles all day long. Latching onto one thought is going to get you nothing but trouble. You just need to, I know it sounds incredibly weird and simple, but to let it go. And the way that you can do that is distract yourself on another thought that is self-aggrandizing. So if you have a self-aggrandizing thought, bring yourself back down. If you have a self-doubt thought, bring yourself back up, so that you're nice and even in the middle. The second thing is you don't understand the nature of how life is. Life is going to give you challenges all day long because that's how you grow. It will never give you a challenge without equal support. So you're never without the support and the guidance and the resilience and the anchors that you need. But it's only when you just latch onto the things that are going wrong and the things that you don't like and the things that you find difficult. Perfect example today, same scenario is I messed up on something that was new to me, and the first thing I did is I let my feelings rise up. Then the second thing I did is I had compassion. I couldn't have possibly known that because I'm new at that particular thing. But I understand that I'm always really, really good at something and really, really terrible at something. But that actually the things that I'm good at are there to drive me forward and really move me forward into my greatness. But the things I'm not great at, actually learning how to do that is one of the most empowering things there is. So actually I lean into the self-doubt and I go, the fact that I'm uncomfortable right now and that I don't know what I'm doing means that I am on the greatest learning curve there ever is. I'm gonna mess up, but also I'm really good at a whole lot of other things. Can you see? It's about that balance. The umbrella thing about that, though, that I do need to give you here is self-doubt comes in, when we don't have proper and wholesome self-love. That's, of course, the absolute foundation. But also self-doubt creeps in a lot if you're not living an inspired and fulfilled life. Because if you know who you are and you've identified your purpose and you're living every single day towards that purpose, self-doubt surprisingly doesn't have much, foothold, because you understand that you were born for this purpose with these strengths and these weaknesses both together guiding you towards it. And if you fill your day with inspiring things, there ain't no place for self-doubt or anything else for that fact. So it's kind of like a two-step thing, because on the one hand, when they do come up, you need to understand why they're there and how they're guiding you back to the middle. But on the other hand, it's also about really asking yourself, Self-doubt is like, obsessive self-doubt is like the litter in your mind. Is it there because you haven't cleaned up and because there's nothing else that's inspiring you all day long? You know, you can inspire yourself with books, with tapes. You can inspire yourself with doing what you love, or you can inspire yourself by seeing the stuff that you're doing now that's not necessarily exactly what you want to do, but how is the thing you're doing right now the ultimate stepping stone to where you want to be? So to wrap that question up is understand what thoughts are, don't get too attached to them, distract yourself if you need to, but ultimately you need to get into a state of self-love where you can see that you're equal light and dark, perfectly aligned towards your greatness, what your greatness is, and then absolutely make sure that every single day you're working towards that goal 100%. I hope that answers your question. And again, think about, what are you gaining by playing the victim card? I had to ask myself so many times, because you're gaining attention, you're gaining sympathy, always think about that, because your ego is a crafty little thing, and it's, really solidly rooted in some programming that's hard to snap out of by yourself, but easy when you know how, and even easier if you do it with somebody that can guide you through it. Fantastic. Let's go on to number 3. What have we got here? How do I not settle when I'm dating? I don't want to be too picky, but at the same time, I don't want to be alone forever. This is a great question. Thank you so much for asking me that question. Okay, so we start with the same thing. Let's get you out of the addiction to belonging, love, and relationships, because that's where most of us are at. We've built this whole list of what is the benefits of being in a relationship, but we haven't done anything about the benefits of being single. But because of the universal law of the life, the universe, you, I, and me, and everybody else, it's perfect yin and yang. Light and dark always together. So being in a relationship has equal benefits and drawbacks. Being single has equal benefits and drawbacks. Only when you see that those are completely equal can you break your addiction to love, belonging, and relationships. That's the first thing to do. I think you also need to get completely clear on who you are, what type of relationship is right for you. I'm not really talking about like writing a specific list, but really understanding what kind of a person you need to be with in order to feel at your best, because it's more about feeling. How do you feel when you're with that person, more than the specific details of what they look like, or who they are, or how much money they earn, or what car they drive. It's how that person makes you feel. That's really the juicy thing. You need to get really clear on your deal breakers, I would say as well, again, become really clear with yourself about who you are and what your purpose is. Because when you understand your purpose properly, it's like the most amazing filtering system there is out there. Because when you're really committed and dedicated to expressing the full potential of who you are, you become far more you filter far better, you become far more choosy about who you actually let in, because being in a relationship is no longer the number one priority in your life. And you know what? Nobody in the whole world, I know there's a lot of poems and love novels written about that. You don't want to be the person's number one. You want themselves to be number one in their life. We both got to be complete in our self-love and in our whole self before we can step into that union complete with another person. It's not like that. It's not two circles above each other. It's two circles touching at the point of connection. So, get really clear about who you are. That really anchors the fact that you're not going to settle. Break your addiction to relationships. Understand your purpose, and then get really clear on how you want to feel in a relationship and what kind of a relationship you need to really fulfill your purpose. And then top tip straight away is when you meet somebody, in the beginning, you're going to go into a high, into an infatuation, because that's how the chemicals of your body are built. When we think that the person is only one-sided, also we don't see them a lot, also they put their best foot forward, we go into this bubble of a high of infatuation. We think it's love, but it's not. It's infatuation. It's driven by your hormones that are being fueled by this one-sided illusion of that this person has only got pluses and only got benefits and only got nice things. And then as you get to know that person, people say, oh, it wears off. No, you come back down to the middle of realizing that that person has light and dark. So top tip, as soon as you meet someone, okay, straight away write down all the things you like about them and then look for things that you dislike about them. Not as a way of saying, I'm just going to wait until there's I don't know, 5, 6, 7 dislikes, but that you need to be in the middle, that you can get to the point where you can see that being with the person has benefits and drawbacks, and being without the person has benefits and drawbacks, because that is the only position of true strength, of true choice, not of addiction, not of victimhood, not of anything else. That is the choice point where you can see that there is a balance both in being with that person and also not being with that person. Because then you can see the person for who they really are. And ultimately, that's what we all want. We want to be loved for the totality of our light and dark side. We want to be loved exactly for who we are. You want to be loved for exactly who you are. We all, that's really at the end of the day, really what we all want. So yeah, break your addictions, get clear on who you are, immediately see the light and dark within that person. And that generally should make sure that you don't settle. And really become clear of your attachment theory description. If you're anxiously attached, if you have a habit of going too fast, too soon, too full on, then know your program and face it, and get a coach on board, get a best friend on board that'll stop you from really repeating that pattern over and over again. But ultimately, to stop your programming, kind of like hijacking you and taking over again and again, and you repeating those patterns again, you need to go right to the epicenter of your trauma and get to a point of gratitude and forgiveness for what was in your childhood. And I highly recommend that you use the DeMartini process for that. It's the most powerful way that I've ever seen in 20 years of doing personal development, that goes right to the center of the core of the trauma that you were in. Doesn't matter if it was emotional or physical trauma, you need to go there and you need to unlock it so that your mind doesn't have to play out that programming over and over and over again, because that's what your mind is trying to do in relationships, get you to heal the wound of the child with the mind of the adult. But the problem is that most of us just go into relationships and start acting like our childhood wound again and again and again and again. So I hope that answers your question, how to not settle when you're dating. And again, top tip, like with the other question, is dating is not relationship. Dating is just, Matthew Hussey said it on one of the first workshops of his I ever went to. He said dating is like the preview to the movie. Go date lots and lots of people. Go for coffee with them, have a drink with them, go for a walk around the park with them. You don't have to sleep with them. Dating is about slowly but surely taking the time to get to know another person. And when you date more than one person at a time and you're completely honest about it to the other people, then you can actually make sure that you don't go too fast, too soon, too, head over heels, because that is just going to cause you trouble in the long run. Okay, let's go on to question number 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey Steph, how do I listen to my own dreams and ideas? Let's try that again. Hi Steph, how do I listen to my own dreams and ideas when all of life is trying to push me to be somebody that I'm not? Ooh la la, great. Let's face it, this is what today's world is all about. Facebook, social media, TV, magazines, absolutely everything, and everything you read, everything you see, everything you hear is trying to tell you who you should be. It takes an enormous amount of courage to be who you really want to be. Whether that is the way you dress, your sexual orientation, the type of relationships you enter into. But underneath that is an addiction to belonging. If you have an addiction to belonging, then beating your own drum is going to be unbelievably difficult. So the first thing, again, we need to do is break the addiction to belonging, so that you can see that following what everybody else wants from you has benefits and drawbacks. Following your own dream has benefits and drawbacks. Only when you can see that both are equal light and dark can you then make the decision whether for your life purpose, for who you want to be and what you want to achieve, you want to follow the crowd or follow your own dreams. That's number one. We need to break the addiction. Then again, also, purpose is a big deal in your life, because if you're not clear on who you are, what you were born to do, and what is the highest expression of your potential, and in what purpose you can express that, then you're always going to go along with everybody else. Because an inspired, fulfilled life within yourself makes sure that you follow that rather than following something else. All right. Let's go to number 5. Oh, this was an amazing question. Thank you so much. How do I instill healthy self-love habits into my children, even from a young age? Thank you so much for asking that question. I absolutely love that. Okay, so number 1 is you must embody self-love, because guess what children do more than listen to you? They watch you all day long. So get really clear on your self-love. Come on the course, work with me. Let's get your self-love down to 100% healthy and whole, because it will just, the energy will exude from you to everywhere you go and everyone you touch. So lead by example first. A child, you can tell a child to drink water, but if you drink water and they see you drink water all day long, it will just become part of their life. So number 1 was embody it. Number 2 was do it together. So if you want to make tidying a habit, if you want to make eating well a habit, make it an adventure that you both go on together. You can always tell a child to clean their room, but really be honest with yourself. When they were really little, did you make cleaning the room a nice, positive activity that you can do together, that eventually along the way they would do on their own? We teach our children to ride bikes and we hold on to them and have stabilizers wheels, knowing that one day we'll take it off. But with some things, we just expect them to, do them by themselves when A, they've never seen you do it, and B, you've never done it with them. So my number 2 top tip is do it together and make it fun. Number 3, no matter how small your children are, explain to them what self-love is. A lot of the ladies that I speak to who have younger children, especially girls, say to me, I watched your videos and it's the first time we've actually started talking about what self-love is. It's not a topic that comes up easily, so make it part of the conversation, not just with girls, but also with boys. The younger your children understand what self-love is and why it's so important, the sooner you will absolutely be able to make it part of their everyday habits and also their perspective and their mindset. Number 4, the power of routine. Routines, especially when it comes to self-care, routines are the bomb. This is what you want to do. Instill great routines right from the beginning. Bedtime, water, food, sleep, exercise, all those things. Those are the things that when you become an adult and you've never done them as a child, like eating well, exercising, rest, planning, tracking, all of those things, tidying, if those things aren't part of your childhood routine, they become incredibly difficult to actually put in place as an adult. So routine. And my last one, number 5, especially money needs to come on the table ASAP. If you are raising children and you are not having distinct conversations around money, and you might have to check in on yourself. Maybe you have limiting beliefs on that. Maybe you don't know your stuff, but as soon as possible, you need to start making money part of the conversation, part of everyday life, because the sooner your child learns that money is an exchange. Something I do well, I then do for others, they give me money, and so the exchange goes. And take money even further and talk about saving. Oh my goodness, when it comes to any parts of self-love, saving and money right from the start, it is the most powerful self-love habit you can possibly ever, I can't stress this enough, ever give a child. Because it's one thing starting to save when you're 30 or 40. It is a totally different thing to start saving when you're 9, 10, 11 or 12. All right, that is all I have for you today. Thank you so much for all your questions. Keep them coming. If you want to have any questions that you feel are too delicate for a video, I always make time for a 20-minute conversation with anybody. What my mission and complete promise to you is in those 20 minutes, I will give you an overview of whatever you're facing, and then you can always choose how to work with that, either with me or with someone else. Most of the time, because you're all quite clever cookies actually, an overview is what you need first and foremost, because when you're in your challenges and when you're in your programming, it's the overview, it's the bird's eye view that you don't see. And I'm here for you for that. So shoot me a message and let's have a 20-minute, 30-minute chat. They usually go to 30 minutes because we usually just connect a bit and get to know each other. So get in touch. This is what I want to give to you so that you have the overview, knowing where you need to go. That's all I have for today. Thank you so much. I will see you next week, Tuesday, for another session of Q&A. And remember, you can always catch up on all the previous Q&As and all the other videos that I do on my YouTube channel under Stephanie Burton and Project Glow. I hope to see you next week, Tuesday. Take care. Bye.